Here, I'll give you a quick lay of the land for tonight. One, we're just welcoming everybody into this space and just celebrating. I think everybody here, Laura Lee is somewhere in the middle, I believe. Hey, that's something you can put in the chat if you'd like to. If you have completed the doing, you can either say 90 done or thumbs up over there. And if you're somewhere in the middle and you know what day you're on, you can type that in there if you would like to. From what I know, most of you have completed the doing, and we're celebrating that completion. Woohoo, Dina! And we're celebrating the process, because one of the things we learned, hopefully, in the doing is that living is learning, and we're never done. So we're done so that we can keep doing and keep being and keep growing. So it's a beautiful, expansive, love the word, celebration, right? Of all of it. So celebrating right where we are. That's another big concept that was in the doing, and in hopefully in all of our lives, is the present, like right here, right now. So I am so honored to be right here, right now with each and every one of you. You are all really beautiful lights and important people, energies, friends, partners in my life. And I appreciate you so much. And I learn from each and every one of you. So I'm so grateful that you chose to journey on the doing with me. It meant so much to me. And your feedback along the way encouraged me. It challenged me at times to be clearer on things, gave me great input, caused me to go deeper, and even gave me direction, because I was creating this as we went. I had the idea of where we were going, but I knew it was one of those things that it was, and in the doing is the learning for me too. Get started, and it was going to show itself. So a lot of times as we would go, I would feel something and then hear something from one of you, and that would be a confirmation, like, yes, that's where we're going. Or it would be a little bit, help me to steer, to think, we need to spend a little more time on this or that topic. And even now that we've come to the end, the great feedback that I've gotten from each and every one of you is helping me even more. So let me turn this music completely off. So officially welcome tonight. And I would love to start us out by saying what I was about to say a minute ago, the lay of the land for the night. We'll open it up for sharing first. And I have a question to ask each one of you if you want to share. Simple question. And then for any questions that you guys might have, things that have come up for you. Some of you shared a question with me in the intake, but if there's anything you want to ask. And then I have a couple, if depending on how long you guys talk or what you want to talk about, I have a couple little topics that we could do a little practicing on to see what an integration Zoom would look like in the process of the doing, or as we're continuing to integrate it into our life going forward. And then I will share with you what's next, how to use what we have, what opportunities are right here, right now, and coming that you can engage in to keep this work going in you, and how to share it. And then we'll end with just a couple of breaths together. So how does that all sound? Good. Okay, so I'm going to leave us on, actually, I'll put us over to gallery or speaker view in a moment. This would be my question. If anybody wants to share, first of all, you have all given me such great feedback. I appreciate it. Do not feel like you must share. But if you would like to, this is the thing. Joel and I were sitting down talking before tonight, and I said, if I would ask anybody one question, it'd be, what's different in you now since doing the doing? What do you notice about yourself, either the way you interact? Is there anything that you're able to notice? Let me let our friend Alicia in here. Welcome, Alicia.
Thanks.
Hello. We're just getting
Thanks.
started. So happy that you're here.
I'm just picking.
You're clipping out a little bit audio-wise, but I can hear that you're here.
All right.
Go ahead. There you go. Go ahead and mute yourself. There you are. Hello, my beautiful friend. Welcome. I was just asking everybody if you would like to share what is something that's different in you or the way that you are showing up in the world with others since you've been doing the doing, whether you're done with it or somewhere in the middle. And I'm going to change this view to speaker. And that way it will video whoever is talking. Does anybody, first of all, would anyone like to share anything that they've noticed?
I do.
Yay! This is
Yeah.
again, if you haven't met my husband, everyone, this is my husband Joel.
Hello. I first just want to thank you for the work that you put in and the time and the energy that you gave and the piece of yourself that you shared with us. For me, I think it's helped me with my communication quite a bit and being able to, I think, hear things differently just by taking the time and being more purposeful about the way that I'm experiencing it and what things are what things I'm maybe hearing or have heard in the past when others are talking to me. And it's helped me to change my it's helped in a lot of ways, but I think just to settle myself and to be able to uh, hear words differently and
Mm.
have a greater ability to encourage myself and to um, just love me better. So
I
thank you.
love that. To
Yeah.
love you better. Yeah, I love that, hun, because when we can love ourselves, then we can love others better. And then it's such a beautiful cycle because we hear them differently. That's what I'm hearing you saying. You're changing inside, even loving yourself more, which is changing the way you hear others. And then that is giving you that beautiful feedback to keep it going. I love that. Thank you. And thank you for doing this with me and never tiring of me asking, did you listen today?
Hey, I am not from Venus and I'm just now learning the language a little bit. And I'm telling you, what Stacy has poured into me is absolutely amazing. And I'm only bits and pieces of it. So
You're
I
so
appreciate
sweet. Thank
that.
you.
All
Thanks
right.
for sharing, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to share something you've noticed that might be different in you since you started this? Feel free to just unmute and hop on there. Donna, I see you waving your hand up there.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Um, I I feel like the thing that I've been getting a lot more practice at, and skill, I would say, skill at, is something that I was aware of before, but didn't really put it into practice as much as I am now. And it's hearing people and not making up my own story about their intentions. And even when I take a look at what's happening in my interpersonal relationships, I can just look at it based on the facts that I see, and I can still come up with judgments. I can still assess whatever the situation is. And I've just been getting a lot better at realizing there's only one person I have control over or responsibility for or authority over, and that's me. And even when someone else is in my story or in my mind doing an injustice to me, um, I'm much more able to just say, that's okay. That's their thing. Maybe even make up a story about why they might be doing that, because we can make up stories that are negative. You can also make up stories that are
Mm-hmm.
positive because they're all stories. And so I've been making up more stories about giving someone else grace.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that, it redirects me to say, okay, that's where they're at. Where are you at? How do I want to show up? And what do I want to do with it? And I realized I've got a lot more control over the direction of my life. You like that, Joel? And it's just been giving me a lot more peace. And even in the midst of times when things are harder,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes things are hard and you have situations that are hard and difficult, but they're going to be hard and difficult whether you do it the right way or whether you do it the wrong way. So, and I know we don't like wrong and right, but a way that gives me peace and I feel honorable and just in the way I'm behaving. So
Hmm.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that was too vague or roundabout, but hopefully you get the
No,
gist.
I
Yeah.
loved it. And I loved what you said about the fact that like we've all realized if one of the things I think we've realized is how much we do spend time making up stories and that we really are meaning making machines. And you brought up a great point that the goal is not to necessarily completely do away with it because we can't. It happens so
Yeah.
quickly. But we're aware of it, one, and what you said, we can write a better story. If we're
Yeah.
going to make one up anyway, if our brain is going to go jump there and do it, we might as well purposely interact with some compassion is what I heard you say. You're able to say, well, maybe this person is coming from this angle instead of immediately saying they're doing this thing to me and writing your story around that. I heard that in there. Yeah, that's really, really awesome, Donna. Thank you. So good. Anyone else like to share?
I will.
Jane. And then Squire, I see you can go next.
Oh, okay. Um, there are actually quite a few thoughts rumbling around in my head. So,
Feel free
first
to
of all,
share.
just along the same lines of this creating a story, my tendency was to listen, but I would be running my story with my experience in my head as I'm listening and, share that experience. So, what I have really learned through the doing is to be more present in listening and just listening and validating, which I'm still working on that that piece of it. But to to step back instead of even thinking about what I may need to contribute to the conversation. So, along those same lines, I have become more attuned to the sensations um, during a conversation. So, if it happened to me about a week ago or so. Um, I made a contribution to the conversation and it was not received well. So instead of trying to further explain myself, I just stepped back in the moment and realized I don't need to make a contribution to this conversation. I can just listen. Now I was processing still, and this was with a group of friends. And so I became silent as I was processing and actually used some of the breathing to calm myself down and just give myself some time to join back in sort of to the conversation. It was interesting too, because one of the people in the group, was also attuned to a shift in me and reached
Mm,
out to me after we got together. So um, I thought I was surprised that she tuned into that.
mm,
But there's just a lot to process, a lot of material that was covered in the doing.
mhm.
Um, I like it, it's helped me further to be able to be an observer in situations, to observe versus absorbing, and
That's good.
especially the emotional, state of the group instead of absorbing it, to be an observer, to ask myself questions, and step back. Thank you.
That's so good, Jane. I just wrote that down. Observe versus absorb. That's really good. That's another word for that non-identification that we've been saying. I'm not going to absorb it. It's not who I am. That's so good. Yeah. Oh man, I love that. And I also, you mentioned that validate part, and I wanted to jump in with a quick comment about that because Jane and I did have a conversation in that week, the communication week, or close to it, about how difficult, what does it look like? How do you actually validate somebody instead of, if I remember our conversation right, it was this sense of like, what's the difference really between agreeing with and validating, and what word do I actually say? And something along the lines of saying, I can see why you would feel that way. And, being able to not necessarily need to feel the same way inside, agree with what they're thinking or saying, and yet to just be able to do that. And we also noticed, and Jane shared with me then, that just because we do the thing right, we validate, some people don't respond very well. They're sort of want that, those old patterns that worked, and they're almost wanted a reaction. So interesting also that in this conversation that you're sharing with us, that you actually got an opportunity to notice somebody who was tuned in a way that was really responsive, that said, I noticed something shifted in you. So I think one of the things with attunement that we get to see is sometimes when we are a little more peaceful inside, others that are used to us behaving maybe in an anxious way or something are sort of like, why aren't you doing the thing you normally do? Engage with me, fight with me, or whatever. That sort of change back that we hear. And then others, we get an opportunity to see people that actually can see us and can say, I noticed that you shifted, and I wanted to inquire. And I wondered if you maybe got to know somebody in a way that you didn't know before, just by making a shift in yourself, gave room for this other person to show up for you.
Actually, she apologized.
Wow.
I didn't need an apology, and I was able to share with her a little bit. The truth is, I just really realized that I didn't have anything that I needed to contribute to the conversation that would be helpful or constructive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it was good. I mean, it was
Right.
good. Hmm.
Yeah. So good. And just the noticing, right? So good. Thank you, Jane. That's one of the things that I love too, is when we can just go, oh, I learned something about myself, or I noticed I don't have to contribute here, whatever it might be. Really powerful. Thanks, Jane. Squire, would you like to share?
Hi, yes.
Hello.
Really awesome to see you guys. Thank you, Stacy, for doing this. Um,
Yes.
in regards to your question of what's like the biggest thing that I feel different at the end of the doing versus the beginning,
Yeah.
um, I would say I have become way more aware of how much of my head I was in and how out of tune I was with my body. Um, and it could be like a survival mechanism or a strategy that I use to just kind of survive the people and circumstances that I'm in. But before I started, I think I was like searching for my identity, like who is Squire? But now at the end, I feel a lot more comfortable with myself.
Mm.
And I think it's just because I haven't been listening to my body for so long that I kind of forgot how to. Um, and yeah, I just noticed that I really underestimated doing, even if it's something as simple as the breath. Now I'm just like blown away. Like, yes, it's worth my time to even do a simple breath. It doesn't have to be a complicated one, even.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm feeling way more in tune with my body and the intuition, like my gut intuition or spiritual intuition. I feel way more attuned to that now than before, and I didn't even know that I was missing out on it before.
Wow.
So that would be the biggest thing for me.
Wow. That is so cool. And isn't it amazing? Because, you and I have talked, I also like to go up in my head a lot. It's much easier, like, let me get more information. And sometimes the thing, just the do it feels like, well, that's not going to do anything. I'm going to sit here and breathe. I should just go read something or learn something. And how powerful when we actually just do it and go, oh, that did do something. And what I also heard you say is it unlocked inside of you this intuition, or it could have been anything. It unlocked something else that you didn't even know. And I think that's the amazing thing about a practice and a doing is We have so much information, most of us. I mean, information is everywhere now. And yet we don't always have this embodying. And when we begin to be regulated inside and we make that space, all the dots can start connecting. The intuition comes back for us. That thing we read that we thought was so interesting, but we're just not walking in it, becomes available to us. So it really is amazing. I love that you reminded us of that, of just even pausing and doing one breath can make a shift there. Yeah.
Yeah, if I could add quickly, I think it's kind
Take
of
your
like
time.
uh and it's not just enough to like know, it's a completely different thing to be. And doing is like that step from knowing to being kind of.
Yes, totally hear that. And it's funny because the words, right? We want to separate doing and being, which little bit of a spoiler there, Laura Lee, but by the time we come to the end, doing and being become one. We realize that in the doing is the learning, in the learning, the becoming, in the becoming, the being, and in the being is the doing. And here we go. Because every time we step into all these new noticings and awarenesses, we get to see another way that we could do, and that shifts into another way to be. So it's funny when we say it's one or the other. Should I do or be? And we can do be both of them. Yes, and awesome. I love that Laura Lee said it's encouraging to keep going, right? Because I see that you put a comment over here too, Laura Lee. You're in the 4th week. Awesome. You know what? We're all in the middle of all of our doings, and we're continuing to go and grow. And so it is good to hear from all these awesome souls that have gone all the way through to the 90. It's beautiful. Thank you, Squire. That was awesome and very encouraging. Is there anyone else who would like to share any kind of a shift that they have felt that you notice as a little different, even if it's something small? Dina, I see you waving your hand
I
around
think
there.
I'm the last one, right? Oh no, Alicia's too, because I don't see her picture. But
Yeah.
I think just being reminded that cycle that you just said, that sentence, right? That it's not a linear thing. It's gonna circle back around, and sometimes multiple times in a day or a week or a month or a year. Was just a good reminder, because sometimes you think I'm supposed to go through the steps in a linear way, and then if you mess up or don't figure a step out, then you like have to go back to the front and start all over again. But it's not like that. It's probably like a little bunch of loop-de-loos all through the whole thing, and then it's loop-de-loos in a circle. So
Yeah.
I think just realizing that when I hit whatever challenging thing in my day, week, month, is good, because it doesn't have to become the like, oh, no, now it's ruined or whatever. It's like, nope, you just loop back in and keep on going. It doesn't have to be like, I couldn't do it, I didn't do it, I don't get it, I failed, it's because there's not. It's just your individual figuring out.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that it's almost like you take this line and just bring it back up and connect it and just say just keep going. Or even like once you've done that, that creates this circle and this space in the middle that we're all coloring in. And sometimes we're really meticulous and sometimes we're scribbling over the thing, and then we've got to go back and fill in little parts. But when we have that, like you just used that, we're not really going back. We're just filling it in, and we're going all around, and we're getting it. And then that circle turns into a sphere. You realize there's so many dimensions to just filling it all in.
Even if we don't get to fill it in, maybe in a certain interaction or relationship, we can still fill it in for ourselves, which is really important, because otherwise, say you have, just because I had an example, conversation that became like one-sided, but I still filled in what I needed for myself to complete the conversation. I kind of got shut down, like told something, and that was that. It's like, oh my goodness. So then I could fill in for myself instead of making meaning or being hurt
Yeah.
or getting offended or feeling, all those things that
Hmm.
maybe we would normally do, kind of like a little bit like what Donna said, just making the meaning full of compassion and being able to fill in for myself was still way better than just, oh, well, I guess that just failed and I can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that sometimes the filling in isn't in the thing that actually didn't get filled in, so to speak. It's another relationship. It's a completely different situation. And we get that round again kind of a feel like, okay, life is bringing something around again. It's going to feel different but similar, the different kind of same, and we go, "Oh, I remember that last time I had this feeling," and we get another opportunity and filling it in. And you said something really neat there, Dina. I got to fill it in for me. It's not so much like I'm going to fix the situation, but I got to fill in something in me that was like, ooh, something just didn't feel so great over there. And yeah, that's such a gift, isn't it, of life that you're never, we haven't expired. We have so many opportunities. And if you like certain verses in the Bible, I love the one that says his mercies are new every morning, because I'm a morning person and I do. If it's ever at night, Joel can testify to this, where I'm just done. I'm like, I'm going to face this in the morning, because I just know that my morning feels a lot different. And that feels a lot like what we're saying, this upward spiral. There are times when we hit that pause. Laura Lee mentioned in there too, like she put a pause in, and someone else said, oh, Jane did like what I call the pause in that conversation, where it was like I paused and stepped back. We have these moments when we can take that kind of divine pause and then re-engage, and that gives us that opportunity to be a little more purposeful, and when we notice things and shift and change. So yeah, so good. And I see your comment there, Alicia. Alicia's listening in. She says she can't talk tonight, but I'm so glad you're here. That's great. And yes, Laura Lee, Dina, is very encouraging. So good to hear all of these things, right? The keeping on going, and we're not messing it up. This is the story, and it keeps going. We keep waking up. We keep living another day until we're not. Kind of that roller coaster analogy in the doing that says, please remain seated until the ride has come to a complete and final stop. And we're still on the ride. So we get to sit in that seat of the explorer, and we also are enjoying the ride, and we're participating, and we're going through the ups and downs and the twists and turns. So does anyone else have anything they would like to share? Anything that you have noticed along the way that you might want to share about?
I had something I wanted to add to
Yes.
That's the power, kind of going with what all of us, I think, have said, like what I'm experiencing at those times that normally would have set me back, or I'd have to sit on Joel and get him back in line, Now I get to spend some time with him and say, oh, wow, what an opportunity for me to, like Dina was saying, also to fill myself and to encourage myself. And I was thinking about it today, like it's almost like anything when you're practicing, it gives us another opportunity. So it's exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So good. And even with that, as we jump around even in here, we have this tool, you all have access to the doing. I am working on moving it to another place, but I am leaving it on WhatsApp as well. And so only moving it so that I can offer it to other people that weren't in this group. And I'll continue to share with you how I figure that out. Tech and me are enjoying some fun little wrestling matches and learning. So I'm leaning into that. But you can revisit all of this. This is that spiraling. If there's something that kind of calls to you, the structure, and Dina, thank you. I know you had said you needed to go. Sounds great. You are all doing great. Yes, thank you. It's so great to have you here. Bye, Dina. Say hi to Boyd and the family. We can go back. Those first 4 weeks, the real structure, and something that I heard back from everyone also was, it might be nice to build in some little breaks where those first 4 weeks were regulation. And then week 5 is when we stepped into processing, and that was the timeline. And Laura Lee mentioned it. A couple others mentioned that the timeline was particularly challenging. And others have said to me it wasn't so challenging, but there have been a handful of people that said that one was. And I wonder too, is if that was because we shifted into processing from regulation. And as I begin to lay this out in a way where we can see it, one of the things, I'm going to share this right now. This is a little work in progress, but one of our members said it would be cool to see the whole layout in a PDF. So I just put it in the chat, the doing schedule. And I just realized as I sent it, I didn't do headings for regulation and processing and communication, but the week names are there. So you might enjoy that if you like downloading things. It's just a little kind of a schedule of all of our 90 days and what the titles were all in one place. But those first 4 weeks are the weeks we can revisit when we know we're in need of regulating and getting the garden, so to speak, in place. When things feel like a lot of processing, a lot of conversations, a lot of drama, a lot going on in us, around us, might be that little notice that says, let me go back to some of those tools in the first 4 weeks and really get myself grounded. And then what are those things as we began to process that maybe were a challenge for some of us? And maybe you need some support in that or would like it. And we've talked about in some of the questions I've asked you guys, what would it look like either going forward for this group or anybody in the new group coming into the doing to have some integration Zooms along the way. So what that might look like on that week of the timeline is we would be getting together like this on a Zoom and we'd be saying, all right, it's timeline week. How did it go for everybody? And then people would share and pop in like we're doing and say, this one rocked me. I wasn't expecting it to. It was really hard for me. Others might say, gosh, it was super fun. I saw some connections, and we're going to all have different experiences in there. I thought I would ask you all right now, did anyone else have that feel like a particularly challenging week? Jane?
It wasn't so much that the timeline itself was challenging or it didn't really stop me in my tracks, but I feel like a really important component of it for me as far as processing the things that came up, because things that came up for me were, well, in a way they were on my timeline, but there were things that I wasn't expecting to crop up and bother me. So for me, the long breath work session, that we
The separate one, the full journey. Mm-hmm.
right. I feel like that was particularly helpful in processing new things that came up, because really the things on my timeline were things that I had already processed. They made it on the timeline. I had already processed. But in the doing, and sometimes even in that longer separate breath work session, other things rose to the surface that I needed to process, that needed to be resolved, that were unresolved. And so, then I could use the tools, and I found it especially helpful, those breathwork sessions where there was a little bit of discussion afterwards that really helped me to process.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
It really does. And like what you said, the things that are on our timeline, in a sense, we've processed because we know they're there. And yet many of us, Squire mentioned this, have processed a lot of things in our head. And that was, I know me, when my trauma resurfaced, the stuff that was coming up, I'm like, I've dealt with this. I know about this. I've gone through all the stuff. And I realized I hadn't processed it in my body. I hadn't let my body finish a lot of those trauma responses. which makes so much sense, Jane, with what you're saying with the breath work. And I remember some of those sessions because the breath work allows our body to go into that activation. So something that's on our timeline that we might look at and say, yeah, I know that that happened. So I've processed it. And then when we enter into the breath work, the body gets to process it. Maybe it's anger or sadness or just breathing through it. And then the repatterning, when we go into the second half of the breath work, allows the body to come back from that state. And maybe this would be interesting if you to notice, Jane, maybe you notice, I should ask it in a question form, after that breathwork session or some of the breathwork sessions that did feel like they really helped you to process, did you find that there was any more integration in your timeline or in some of those things that still felt really heavy for you? Did they sort of settle in a different way?
Yes, definitely. It definitely helped me. But I do think the discussion after the session really helped me. So, that was an important component.
Yeah.
I totally agree, and I do. I've realized actually before doing the doing, although you helped me to understand it a lot better, that I carry the trauma in my body. I already knew it. I knew, where the pain was. But everything you did helped me to understand it a lot better. And then, to be able to, the difference now in just being really attuned to what my body is telling me. And okay, there's something I need to do here. I need to work on this. My body is screaming something that needs to be processed.
Yeah.
So-
Isn't that great? Yeah, there's then we get to use our brain in a really positive way in those stories, because when we listen, which really is that outcome that I think we're aiming towards, is when I can truly listen to what my body is saying, then I can begin to listen to those stories and learn from them. And I can shift, I can listen to the emotion that comes up without getting rocked, without getting sent back into that overwhelm where the body then shuts down again, or has to go into its old coping mechanism. So it can feel a little just like the breath work activating. And I love what you said, that integration time after the breath work is important. And not only with the breath work, and can also be really important separately. Like you have also mentioned that would be something you would enjoy in the doing, would be to have those sessions along the way to help integrate and just talking with other people. Because it's not just me, it's the other people in the group that share something, and there's so much wisdom, so much shared wisdom.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Anyone else have any comments about any of that? Anything to share? See if I can see everybody. Don't want to miss anyone. Okay. Awesome. There was another question too that I thought we could lean into just a little bit with the free from and free to. And if anyone, well, let me put it this way. Would anyone like to, before I jump into that, is there anything anybody would like to sort of process in real time, which would be what we call like spotlight coaching? If we did do some sort of integration Zooms in the future that you could come to, there would be an opportunity to say, hey, this thing, like Jane just maybe said, the timeline, here's what came up for me, or in the breath work. Is there anything that you wanted to process through? Would anyone like to volunteer to chat about anything like that? Donna.
Do you mean right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah. And no pressure at all. I just thought if anybody had kind of a burning thing that was coming up,
I actually do. It happened just last night and today. Last night I got totally triggered by a comment that someone made, and it was an unjust comment. It was not a true comment, but it felt like an attack on me. And so I just kind of set it back. I stuffed it a little bit because, I didn't want to make a big deal out of it there in the middle of all the thing. And so I started thinking about it today, and I did all the stuff. You do the stuff. What happened? How did my body feel? I knew something was happening because my body went crazy and all this stuff. And what I ended up doing is kind of along the lines of what I shared earlier is, I knew the story that I wanted to make up, and then I tried to make up a different story, or at least see it from a different perspective. But even after doing that, I still realized that I believe that I was wronged.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, it's kind of hard to, and I'm getting better. It's kind of hard to just say, okay, you were wronged, but it's so what? I still have to do this work so that I have peace. It could be that I was wronged. It could be that I wasn't wronged. It could be that I made up the wrong story. It doesn't matter. I'm still left with the mess.
Mm-hmm.
And the mess is inside of me. And there's all the externals can still be there, but I'm really trying to work on that because the externals will still be there, and I'll work on that later.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to work on me right now to get myself some peace and to know where I stand. Because really, when you think about it, it's often about consequences. Once you get a grip on whatever the situation is, then you have to make a decision. Okay, now I've got a grip on this. What do I want to do with it?
Yeah.
And you kind of walk out, what are the consequences of that? And I think that's really where I'm functioning right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. And I hear that you took some of the tools, like the set point. You felt, okay, where am I feeling this in my body? Obviously, I'm feeling it. And the thoughts, I heard those. Did you notice a particular emotion that you could name or explain? What was the emotion that was kind of connected to all of that?
I don't know, actually. I don't know if I've
Okay.
identified the emotion.
Yeah.
I do know that whatever it felt like was what I felt when I was in the middle of my chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And because what happened last night resembled my chaos,
Yeah.
I started to make a story and correlated that person to the other person, saying, okay, well, they must be just like that.
Yeah.
And I did not want to do that because that's not fair.
Yeah.
And it's not true. It's not fair and it's not true.
Let me ask you this, because you went exactly where I was going to go, is we've got the actual situation that you're talking about that happened last night. Here's this person. And then we've got the thing, let's call it the thing that's happening in Donna. So,
Yeah.
And you already noticed, I felt this same way in my chaos. And so that was my question. When else have you felt this way? Can you identify any other times before then that you had this same sort of sensation, emotion, stories, the same feelings throughout life?
I don't know if I can think of a particular thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like the thing is injustice, just
Mm-hmm.
being incorrectly identified or incorrectly assessed.
Yeah.
It's just those things just aren't true. And I used to always go back to the place of, oh my gosh, am I like that? Am I this? Am I that?
Mm-hmm.
And I get all confused and I think I didn't think I was like that, but they said it to me, so I must be like that. Well, I'm not doing that game anymore.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not doing that game anymore. And it's a real conflict internally.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see this gift, the gift of the current is that it gets to shine that light inside to say, ooh, there's still some little packet. Let's think of it maybe like this little packet of energy that lives inside of us. And a current situation comes and rattles that little packet. And we go, oh, that's still there. That's something is there, which you already identified from your chaos. And I know what that is. We can, name it as that, the chaos. And to say, you named it, injustice, this feeling of injustice. And I would encourage you to think back, where are all those times, you could even use your timeline, that I have felt injustice? When did I feel injustice from my parents, from school, from work, my children, my spouse, my friends? And see if there's kind of a consistency. Sometimes if we can trace that to that first time, sometimes we can find that it often, again, that's going to be a childhood thing where you felt that same sort of packet, like I was judged wrong. There was some sort of injustice that was done to me. That's one angle, and I'll take a pause there to see if that's ringing anything for you, whether you want to speak it out loud or say, oh yeah, I'm seeing some other times all the way back.
Again, all I can say is that whenever it happens, it is visceral for me. I
Yeah.
don't know what that means. All I know is that's how I'm built. That's how I'm
Right.
wired. I
Yeah.
can't explain it. I don't know where it came from. It's just part of who I am.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. What does it mean about you when someone does an injustice? What does that mean in your head about you?
That I'm wrong or I'm bad or I'm not good. I guess those are the messages that I get.
Yeah. And I heard you say, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that game anymore. So there's a part of you that says, I don't believe that, and I'm not going to buy
Yeah.
into that. Yeah. And yet
Exactly.
you're still hearing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what would that mean if it's not true? Because you already said that. It's not true. Someone else believes it. Is there a belief about the world that connects this injustice? Something should be or shouldn't be a certain way. They shouldn't, they should.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, and I guess that's where I was going when I said, once I get a grip on it, then I have the choice of making decisions based on where I land,
Yeah.
and those decisions all have consequences. And so perhaps my conflict or my reluctance or my inability, whatever the word might be, is maybe just an avoidance of coming to a conclusion and having to make a decision on consequences.
Yeah. Well, and the consequence, perhaps, are you talking about particularly in this current situation, that there might be a consequence in that relationship?
Mm.
Is
What's
that
the question?
is that the
Yeah,
consequence you're meaning now is with the current situation that happened last night? Like, what am I going to do with that?
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also we have this energetic thing inside of Donna going on that says, even if I make a change here, I'm going to feel this thing if another person and another person and another person does this thing that makes Donna feel injustice, if we call it that
Yeah.
word for now. And
Sure.
that might be because there is the actual. We don't want to ever deny that there is the actual thing. Like we don't want to just say, "Oh, I'm just dealing with my interior world and it doesn't matter what people do or say,"
Right.
right? Which is so
Right.
important that you're spotlighting here that yeah, I'm going to have to possibly make a decision that might have consequences and I get to use it in here. And so we
Hmm.
can maybe hold both of those things to say it's not so much the truth of the injustice. There's the gift, perhaps, if you want to be open to the gift of this current situation going, ooh, they rattled something that's still in there that I get to look at more deeply. And I get to look at what is it that I believe about the world. They shouldn't, other people should never think wrongly of me. Maybe that's it. To see like
Mhm.
you labeled it as if I can get a hold of this thing, this belief about the world should be a certain way, and then Donna won't be bothered,
Yes.
right, by what all these people are
Yes.
doing or what's happening. And you still have the current situation, which is your own decisions to make. And herein lies the gift, the possible gift of you might find that this is coming here for you to say,
Right.
what is the thing that I'm ready to release? A belief,
Hmm.
or maybe it's something that you're ready to stake in the ground. Like you said, there are certain things that no, that won't happen anymore. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, there's the
Yeah.
investigation part. Yeah,
Yeah. I appreciate all that, and I feel it encourages me to continue to dig a little deeper into that because I do think there's some unreconciled something going on there.
yeah.
It's been with me my whole life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It's been with me my whole life. And to be able to look at that and then say, what is that belief? What does this mean about me? And
Yeah.
then you get to bring in the work of, is it true? Is it
Mm-hmm.
100% true? This thing about me, or if people do the if this, then this. And how do I feel when I believe that thing is
Right.
true? And what would
Mm.
be possible if it wasn't true?
Hmm.
What if it didn't matter if they were just or under, right? And
Yes, exactly.
yeah, and again, doesn't dismiss the current situation, but that
Sure.
that part inside. And then perhaps one last piece, because there's a lot more to this, but thank you for being so willing to share your stuff with us, is the turnaround. You might take it and take it like that Rubik's Cube and twist it and turn
Yeah.
it and say, okay, they were unjust to me. Just try it on from all aspects. They weren't unjust. I was
Yeah.
unjust to them, whatever it might be. And just look at it, look at it, look at it, and flip it. And just breathe with each one of those, and like you're trying on a new hat. Does that one feel? Ooh, no, that one's not it. But maybe there was this one little part. Can we
Hmm.
look at it from all those angles, not to convince ourselves of anything else, but just to stay in that seat of the explorer and just go, oh. Because most
Yeah.
often we have a belief about ourselves, the world, or others, right? That we're set on. And when we can say, well, wait a minute, what is this meaning that I've made about me to be safe in the world? I need justice, or I need whatever it might be that you might look at in order for me to be okay in this relationship. It might give you some of those perspectives to just say, yes, this is something I need, or I hadn't even
Yeah.
thought of that part.
Yeah, I appreciate that. One of the things that's really tough for me, and I don't know if anyone else would say that this is something they battle with, but I've been so used to telling myself that whenever that happens, I'm the one that's wrong. I've always defaulted to that. I'm the one that's wrong. I'm the one that needs to fix something because in my head, if people are telling me something, they're not lying to me. I have a hard time
Mm-hmm.
believing that someone could be lying to me or doing something that's not completely above board or any of that stuff. So
Yeah.
my real struggle and I think where it comes from, where I said, I'm not playing that game anymore. I need to learn how to stop defaulting to that I'm always wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And when I stand up for myself, it feels very unusual. It's a thing I have to practice. I mean, I have a strong personality. It's hard for even me to believe that I default to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do. I
Yeah.
do. And I need to recognize it. And then I need to grow some whats to stand up for myself. And when you do, you're often looked at in certain ways as,
Yeah.
and then you feel worse about it. So anyway, I don't want to
Yeah.
ramble,
No, you're good.
but
And
that's basically it.
may I ask one more thing too? I think you just nailed it. You said, this is the belief. I am wrong. And so if you have to grow a pair to stand up for that, are you still holding the belief I am wrong?
Yeah. And I think that's what I really need to do some work with.
Yeah.
And,
So is it true? I am wrong.
and
Are you wrong?
I don't think I am. I don't know. I got to
Yeah.
dig into it.
Are you 100% sure that you are wrong? Is there a chance that you're not wrong?
Yeah, there's a good chance I'm not wrong.
There's a good chance you're not wrong. Okay. And
Yeah.
so how does it feel, which is I think what you've been saying, when you feel you're wrong? This is what it
I
feels
don't,
like.
yeah. I don't like feeling wrong, but I also have a huge discomfort in functioning in that position of I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
It's so unusual to me,
Yeah.
and I know it's this strange paradox, but that's what I need to get more practice at.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be able to say, here's the question I'll leave you with. What would it feel like to be in any of these situations and to know that I'm not wrong? What would show up
Yeah,
differently if you were convinced I'm not wrong?
I think it would be very empowering, but again, that means measuring consequences.
Is there
And
anything to defend? Let me ask you that. When you know that you're not wrong, what is there to defend?
True. True. I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And it may be the belief inside of you, perhaps the I am wrong that you're so mad at.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps that
Yeah.
sense like I am wrong, like I'm done with I am wrong. It's not so
Yeah.
much the other, I mean, there's the consequence too, right? But just to be able to look at what would it feel like if you really could not believe that you were wrong, no matter what was said, no matter what was done in the world.
Hmm.
It was not it wasn't a thing that existed in the world. Donna is wrong. It's poof, it's gone. It
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, what would life look like if there was no belief that Donna could be wrong? And I
To
hear
be
you. It's
very,
foreign. It's very
to be
foreign.
very honest, it's not something that I can just embrace in this moment. I really
Yeah.
have to sit with that.
Yeah. When we've believed things about ourselves for a really, really long time, we make them true with every situation. And
Mm.
it seems like you even said it seems like the opposite. Donna's so tough. You believe it. I know you. So it couldn't be that I think I'm wrong. They think I'm wrong, right?
Right.
They think I'm wrong, and that's injustice.
Yes.
Perhaps Donna
Yeah.
actually thinks Donna's wrong, and that's the
Yes.
part that's ready to be undone. And maybe that's
Gotcha.
the piece to sit with is, are you ready to be done calling yourself wrong?
Yes. I hear you, friend. I hear you, sister. And
Awesome.
yes, yes. That
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really kind of glad that this came up because it's time.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we can spend all of our life trying to convince everybody else that we're not wrong. The truth is that we still believe that we're wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the opportunity, perhaps, to step into. I'm ready to stop believing that I'm wrong. I'm ready to be open to the possibility that I'm not wrong.
Yes.
That's the seed that might
Yes.
that might be showing up for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You feel complete enough right now?
I
Supported enough?
do. I do.
Good.
Yeah, that little last tidbit was very helpful, to just open myself up to the possibility that I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
That's
Beautiful.
enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Just that little bit like
Yeah.
maybe it's
That's
possible.
Yep,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
for letting me practice on you and being willing to be in front of everybody. You're a brave soul.
Yeah.
So good. Is there anyone else that would like to share anything? I want to wrap us up within our time and still share with you all just a few little things about where we're going, but I'll give opportunity if there's anyone else that has anything you want to bring before the group, either from the doing, anything at all, questions, thoughts. I'm gonna look here. One of the questions was brought in the in the intake here was about discipline. That like how do we be disciplined to just do this? And I saw that as two parts: just to do the doing, or whatever our practice is, since we're in the doing, and then the discipline of continuing to integrate it. So I wanted to ask those of you that have finished the 90 days, would any of you do you have any insights on how do you be disciplined? How did you do the 90 days? And is there a certain insight that helped you to stay on track and to be disciplined about doing it every day? Yes, Squire.
Uh, so something that helped me is that I already have a disciplined habit of either going to the gym or going for a run. So what I did is usually when I exercise, I have a cool down at the end, at least 15 minutes. And I decided that during that time, I'm going to listen to the doing. Um, and so it helped me just stick with it more because I piggybacked off of a habit that I already had.
Mm.
And the only days that I really missed the doing was when I didn't go work out. Um, so yeah, just kind of picking back off of something that uh, I already had a habit for. And I
That
think
is, yeah. Sorry, I stepped on your toes right there at the end. Were you finished?
yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. I love that idea to attach it to something we already do. If you have, I think the morning is a great time. Some of us just aren't morning people, But most of us say, if I don't do it sometime in the morning, in the beginning-ish of the day, I won't get to it. However, whatever that thing is, like for me, I like to get up and get my cup of coffee in the morning. And so I know I'm going to have that window. And like what Squire's saying, she knows she already has this workout routine. So if we can peg it onto something that we already do, rather than it's a new thing we have to incorporate and add to our schedule, that can feel heavy. Yeah. Anyone else have any ideas or thoughts that that helped them there? Yeah, I see that, Laura Lee. You said you're really struggling. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can have a chat this week too. I think that is Donna, did you have something to say on that?
I did, but then I forgot.
That's awesome. So maybe a reminder on our phone, that can be a thing. Like with the WhatsApp, if you set your notifications, although that part's over now, but you can set a little notification. Having even writing down the night before, that has helped me before at night to say, what are my intentions for tomorrow? Because often at night is when we kind of crash in bed and it's like, oh, I meant to work out. I meant to eat healthy. I meant to do the doing. I meant to da da da. And so we can write those things and then not just say, okay, I'm going to do it, but when am I going to do it? Let's see, Alicia, I see your message here. I just did it first thing when I woke up and I didn't miss a day. If I would have left my room and started my day before I did it, it definitely wouldn't have happened. Yeah, right there. That's a great example. Thank you, Alicia. Like, okay, I'm going to decide that I'm going to do it before I even get out of my room, because once I leave my room, I know that it's gone. The day is gone from there. Did you remember,
my
Donna?
thing. I did.
Yes.
I agree with all the things that everyone said, attaching it to a current habit that you already do. The other thing that helped me was just kind of a logistical thing. I tried to make sure that I always had my piece of paper, my pencil. I did a lot of journaling in my phone, like whatever the method is that you use to process and get that express out what you're thinking, just to have it available. That way you're not scurrying around trying to find it and you lose your thoughts.
Yeah, that's good. Getting your things in place first. And two things came to me. One also is, and we don't have to push. Just because this is a 90-day program and we think, oh, I didn't do it right. There's nothing that says that you didn't do it right. Or you even got behind. And I know I shared that throughout the thing. And yet it's like you want to keep going. And Laura Lee, I see your comment that that's how you started, was doing it first thing in the morning, and life gets in the way. And then here's another example, that timeline. You were one of the ones that told me that really did trigger you. And here's what I would suggest too is stay in the first 4 weeks. Keep cycling through the first 4 weeks until you feel sort of an urge to keep going. I think when we are pushing into resistance, it kind of goes back to my little intro about the doing when I sat on the floor with my pink mat, my yoga mat, and I shared the story that I wanted to do stretches and exercises every morning. And I like to be fit and it's things I want to do. And for whatever reason, there's an example. I'm a morning person and I wouldn't do it. And I didn't understand the resistance. We don't always have to understand why we're resistant to something. But one of the things we learn and practice in the doing is just noticing it. I have resistance. So for me, the only thing I wasn't resistant to was, and I was really good at pushing and making myself do stuff. So the reason I'm bringing this one up in particular, Laura Lee, is we can throw out all kinds of ideas to push you to do it so that you will do it and be a good girl. And that's not the point. And perhaps that's exactly why it's coming up. That's what wants to be looked at, is you don't even have to do it, even though you want to do it. Like I wanted to do my exercises, but I don't have to. And it seems so counterproductive, but it wasn't until I leaned all the way back and said, the only thing I'm not resistant to is putting that silly pink yoga mat on the floor. And then I just walked over it for many days and sat in my chair and drank my coffee and read my book. That's what I wanted to do, until I finally sat on the yoga mat to read my book. But that was it. That was all I was willing to give at that moment. And it seems like such a childish, weird thing. It wasn't about the exercising. It was about, don't make me do something I don't want to do. Very old resistance pattern, right? The rebel. Yes. Totally. And so I would invite you, Laura, to even lean into that, or any one of us throughout any of these processes, to say, when I feel that resistance, I want to listen to it. Maybe do the exercise of the emotion knocking on the door. Resistance is knocking on my door. Recognize it, acknowledge it. Hello, resistance. Would you like to come in and sit with me? And then ask it some questions. Resistance, tell me about yourself. Tell me what you're thinking and what you're upset about. And then remember, you are not the rebel. You are not resistance. You are the one experiencing it, listening to it, and getting to notice it. Joel, do I see you wanting to share something on this?
Yes. If I can, I found the unmute. It might be silly. To me, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe if you imagine it like a scratcher. I don't know if you've ever bought a scratcher ticket and it'd be sitting in my vehicle or something. I'm like imagining that I'm going to win this big prize, and it sits there and I wait to scratch it. I think the idea of what's in that 15 minutes or what it really is very helpful. So
Repeat that last part. You popped out for a minute. You said what's in that 15 minutes?
yes, each day, what's in it is it brought me some perspective and it gave me an opportunity, if nothing else, just to take the time for myself and to have you or someone remind me of the ways that we can find what we've been searching for all day long. So maybe
Yeah.
if you imagine it like that scratcher, you know that when you open it, and I'm sure I don't know you because I don't see you, and I don't know if I've met you or not. If I haven't, hello. It's rewarding for sure.
Yeah. Honey, that's super interesting. And isn't it funny? A scratcher ticket, most of the time, we're not going to win. It's, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I could see you're like, I'm just going to wait and savor this thing, and because I might win. And then I heard, sorry, say something, say that.
Oh,
What
I
were you
was
saying?
with you. It's the anticipation.
The
Yeah.
anticipation. And then what you kind of connected to the end was, well, wait a minute. I know this little 15 minutes is good. I'm going to win. What if
Yeah.
you knew the scratcher was going to win? You just didn't know how much. It was going to be $2, $5, 10, or 50. You knew you were going to win. You would be a little more ready to scratch it. And maybe that might be the thing too, is like, oh, again, there can be that resistance. And that's that part of like, even still, if you find it, whatever comes up, that's our opportunity to listen, because in that is where the gold is. And when we push past, we're doing the thing we've done our whole life, which is tell our body to shut up, tell our emotions to shut up, and make a new story and make a new story. And so the thing we're learning is to say, oh, I notice you. Super irritating that you're here. I mean, that's okay. We can be honest. Like, I did not really want you to come knocking on my door today. I want to do something different. And why are you here again? Resistance or whatever it might be. And then we get to just listen. And remember, it's not who you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to notice it, right? And that might be a big thing. I am not fill in the blank. It's not me. I'm the one noticing that. Yeah. So it's a beautiful notice. Yes. Yes. And we can definitely chat more on that one-on-one at a different time too, because to be able to inquire, and it's a good segue, and I'll shift for a moment and into what is coming down the pike and what's available too, because support is something else that a couple of people said they wanted to know about and were excited about, the ongoing support. And so some of the things you know about, the breathwork sessions, those are things I do regularly, usually 2 to 4 times a month. There's a session on that same Calendly link. You can always look on there and jump into a breathwork session. That's one way to get support. A one-on-one. Let me read here, Laura Lee, your comment. Don't talk, don't feel, don't trust, and don't feel rules of dysfunctional families. Yeah, so these are the messages that you're hearing, and these are the little emotions knocking at your door. I'm trying to remember, in those first 4 weeks, was that when we had our cabin in the woods, the safely hosting our emotions? I don't know if you got to that week, and I should know the order. And I can't see right now. I won't get distracted by that right now because we can chat about it. So that will be, I will find that one for sure, figure out what day that was on and send that to you, Laura Lee. That the safely hosting our emotions is a great way for all that stuff. The emotion, the thought that shows up, the don't talk, don't feel, don't do this, this is not okay. We get our opportunity to listen to that. And it usually carries a message for us. So one-on-one sessions, if anyone ever is there, same Calendly link, you can find, go on to the main page of there and you can book a one-on-one session with me, shoot me a text and we can set up a time. Zoom integrations is something I would love to do this more often. And especially as the doing gets going again in another platform, because that's a piece that most of you have said it would be really helpful to at least have the option to know that there was something, if you had a week that really triggered you or rocked you or kind of knocked you off a little, you were going right along and all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is a hard no, to be able to hop into a call with a group where we could do this sort of stuff and help support you through that process. So I'm in the process of taking in some of the feedback you all gave me and figuring out how to present that. And if anyone has more ideas, shoot them my way because I'm looking at Patreon and school mostly, and then also band and circle, some ways. I want to keep it simple for myself and for everybody, and yet be able to connect and offer the support that you need. So another way is retreats. We have another group called Becoming Safe. Some of you are part of Becoming Safe. That's how I got to know you and then ended up, moving more into a deeper relationship and then into coming into the doing. And Becoming Safe is something you can check out. You can just go to becomingsafe.com, but that's a community for women. We have a Facebook group that we can chat with. And that's where I kind of started all this work of the nervous system, my songs, my own personal stories. I really go into my own stories because sometimes we can get lost in our story. And so by hearing someone else's, and I become the volunteer, you can hear yourself, but it gives you a little distance. You can hear about betrayal, but not while you're in the middle, stuck in your own retelling over and over. And I don't go so much into the details to where it's hopefully re-triggering, but it gives you that sense of you're not alone and somebody understands you. And then there's tools connected. So that is a great static community. It's there for you to go through. And then we do 2 retreats a year. I should say we're doing 2 this year here at our house. Joel's thanks honey for moving all around the house tonight and outside. He's in our kitchen there. So in the dining rooms behind us, if you come to a belonging retreat, you'll get to tip to one side, honey, and show us the table where we'll be sitting together having our meals. And so that is in the end of May and the middle of August. That's a time you could come here to Virginia and spend 3 days one-on-one, really digging deep. Several of these ladies here were at the Belonging Retreat last year, and the feedback there was that it was really life-changing and really was an opportunity to go into this stuff multiple days in a row. So those are great. And then for those that are ready to push those limits, I know a couple people are planning to do this. In September is another in-person in Tennessee called the Expansion Experience. And that one I would recommend waiting until you feel you definitely want to have finished the doing and or have attended a belonging retreat, and that you really have kind of a handle on the regulation and the processing, and you're ready to step into that next. And that doesn't mean that we're not all still going around that upward spiral. That never ends. But you have a certain amount of groundedness, like at the end of our doing, that we have that security and stability, that awareness, the free from and free to, and that expansion that's beginning to feel like it's part of us, like it's not out there somewhere. And you're ready to step in and fill that out a little bit more. That would be a place to be able to come for that. And then the other piece I'm looking at is just other ways to have more community chat. Like if I move everything to school or Patreon, there's abilities for people to chat on there, kind of like a Facebook group, but a little more private. Some people really don't like Facebook, and I appreciate that. So looking at some of these other things that are hopefully apps on a phone So you're not having to log into a website. You click the app, go to our little private place, and you can chat or listen to the next message. So I'm still in process of working all that out and playing with, not wrestling with, playing with technology to find what is going to feel like a path of peace and for everybody, the most ease, the most accessibility. So that's what's coming down the road, and we'll end together with a few breaths. But before we do, let me just see if anyone else has anything else you'd like to share, ask, comment on before we end our time together.
What were the dates for the expansion experience?
The expansion experience is September 20, make sure I say it right. I believe it's the 24th. 24th starts that evening, a Thursday evening, and ends the morning of Sunday, the 27th of September. And that's in Tennessee, Lebanon, Tennessee. And then the belongings are May 28th through the 31st. That's here in Virginia. And August 13th through the 16th. And I can shoot you a link that you can look a little bit more at the belonging. I don't have a link yet for the expansion experience, but I do for the belonging. I can send that to you, Jane. Make a note for myself. Anyone else? Well, I so appreciate all of you being here tonight and through the doing, and I'm just blessed, honored, encouraged, all of the things by the feedback you've given me throughout the doing. Most of you here are ones that have sent me messages along the way, and thank you. Many times they were much needed. This has been a process for me as well, which I knew. In the doing is the learning over and over and over again. And it was a stretch and a delight at the same time, because I knew this was something that was birthing inside of me that wanted to come forth, and I felt safe enough, which is another piece that many of us understand. You know, we're this becoming safe, this being safe. There's a sense of safe enough. That's that upward spiral that brings us one level more, that lets us go deeper into that question, that experience, like Donna shared. You know, go, I know all this, but oh, why did it get me again? Because I'm now safe enough, safer enough. I've grown enough to now I have this capacity to see something with a little bit different perspective. And that is a beautiful opportunity. So I have grown through this process as well and been really enjoyed all that I've heard from you all. So thank you. So how about we take a couple of really good grounding breaths together, and we're going to be on time and close this Zoom down at 9. So let's just close down our eyes if that feels good to you. And just let a breath come in however it wants right now. If it's a big sigh or a gentle, just sipping of air, and just notice it. And let's just take our arms and stretch up over our head for a moment as we inhale in, exhaling out. And then on the next inhale and exhale, just stretch down and out. And now I just encourage you, just keep breathing and see how your body just wants to move for a moment. Does it want to take a stretch, twist, sigh? Just noticing and listening. Feeling what is present right now. And then I invite you just to place your hands on your heart. And as you take an inhale in, filling up your belly and then letting it rise all the way up into your chest, and feel your chest, your heart expand. Feel it and hold it. Let it go. feel that space get smaller, smaller, smaller. And then breathe in again. Into the belly, up into the chest, expand. Hold it. Maybe bring in a little bit of that tension in the hold. And then let's let this one go with some sound. And shake it out. And then one more. Just let it come in how it wants. And let it float out. In the doing is the learning. In the learning is the becoming. In the becoming is the being. And in the being is the doing. We give ourselves permission to learn, permission to grow, permission to pause, permission to feel, permission to explore, to breathe, and to be right where we are. Thank you all so much. And I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your night. And why don't we all just unmute and to say goodbye to each other.
Good night, everybody.
Good
night.
night. So much love to each of you. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Yes, good night, good night.